I'm telling you about a very controversial story, but one that is linked to the famous biblical story of the Great Flood. 1960, a man named Tatunca Nara stood before a Brazilian state dressed in a loincloth, a feather and a bow. The man said he was the leader of a tribe called Ugha Mongulala, an unknown indigenous people of the Amazon, and that he lived in an underground city called Akakor. According to Tatunca Nara, the city of Akakor would have been built by an ancient civilization known as the Ancient Fathers. It would later be rediscovered by a German expedition during World War II, and the Ugha Mongulala would be the guardians of the underground city. The Germans mixed with the population, and Mr. Tatunca Nara would be the result of this mixing. According to Tatunca Nara, the ancient fathers or builders of this underground city called Akakor were an ancient civilization who lived there for a long time. They are said to have had advanced technological abilities, such as flying machines. Tatunca Nara also claimed that the ancient fathers knew about future events, such as the fall of the Berlin Wall. Tatunca Nara said the Ugha Mongulala were charged with acting as guardians of Akakor and protecting the underground city from outsiders. Tatunca Nara argued that the ancient fathers of Akakor were extraterrestrial beings from a distant galaxy. According to his story, these beings had come to Earth many millennia ago and had built Akakor as an underground city, where they had hidden their treasures and secret knowledge. Tatunca Nara argued that the underground city of Akakor contained a great deal of knowledge and treasure, and that the Ugha Mongulala were charged with protecting the city pending the return of the ancient fathers. Does the Great Flood have any connection to this story? In the story of Tatunca Nara, the city of Akakor is connected with the legend of the flood, as it is said to have been built by the ancient fathers of the Ugha Mongulala after the world was destroyed by the flood. According to Tatunca Nara, the ancient fathers had survived the flood thanks to their knowledge and skills, and had built the city of Akakor to repopulate the world. Furthermore, Tatunca Nara claimed that the ancient fathers had created a system of underground tunnels and caverns under Akakor to protect the city from future floods and other catastrophes. These tunnels were also used to move quickly to different parts of the world, according to legend. Does this flood have anything to do with the Great Flood? The flood is a story present in many cultures and religions of the world, which tells of a great flood that would have hit the earth and destroyed much of humanity. In many of these narratives, the event is explained as a divine punishment for mankind's wickedness, while in others as a natural cycle. Among the cultures that have a narrative of the Great Flood, in addition to the biblical, we also find the Sumerian, the Babylonian, the Assyrian, the Roman, the Greek, the Indian, and many others. The narratives have some similarities, such as the idea of a catastrophic event that destroys much of life on Earth and the idea of an ark or a means for the salvation of some living beings. For example, in the Sumerian tale, the flood is caused by the anger of the gods, who see humanity as too noisy and chaotic. The god Enki warns the man Sudra, also known as Utnapishtim, of the impending catastrophe and orders him to build a large boat to save himself, his family and the animals. In the Babylonian version of the story, the hero who builds the ark is called Atrahasis or Utnapishtim. The ark is built following the instructions of Ea, the god of wisdom, who has compassion for humanity and wants to save it from the flood. In Greek mythology, the flood is caused by Zeus who, outraged at the corruption of humanity, sends a flood to destroy everything. Only Deucalion and his wife Pythia survive thanks to an ark built with the help of Prometheus, Titan known by all for having given man fire. He is also father of Deucalion. In Indian mythology, the story of the flood is told in the Indian epic Mahabharata and Purana Matsya. The legend tells the story of the god Vishnu, who takes the form of a fish, Matsya, to save mankind from the destruction of the world during a global flood. According to the story, humanity had become corrupted and a great flood is coming to destroy everything. However, Vishnu appeared in the form of a fish and warned the wise Manu of the impending catastrophe. Manu built an ark and saved himself, his family and a couple of each animal. The interesting fact I find in all these stories is the fact that the gods who warn humanity of the imminent flood have very similar characteristics. Example: Enki and Ea were both considered sages and lords of the waters in Sumerian and Babylonian mythology. Enki was also known as the Lord of Wisdom and Knowledge, and was often associated with the serpent, as this animal represented the ability to renew and transform. The trident that Enki often wielded represented the power he held over the waters, while the fish was a sacred symbol of him as it represented life and fertility. Ea was also associated with waters and wisdom, and was known as the Lord of the Deep. Like Enki, he was also associated with the serpent and the fish. His trident symbolized his control over the waters of the underworld. Instead, Vishnu in Hindu mythology is considered the preserver of the universe and the Lord of the waters. He is often represented as a snake or with a snake around his neck, as this animal represents transformation and rebirth, as well as immortality and knowledge. Thanks for watching.